What's up, everybody? It's Austin here, or Luna. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful weekend so far. I've been chilling. Sorry about my shoddy upload schedule lately. I saw a comment yesterday being like, dude, he's finally running out of stories, bro. It's the time. He's running out of stories.
Take his 401k and I'll put it on my wrist.
I will never run out of stories, okay? If I run out of stories, I will strap fireworks to my ass and I will run outside and blow my own ass up for content. I do not care. That might be an exaggeration. I probably would never do that, and I don't advise anyone to ever do that. But what I'm saying is, I will always find a way to get the stories, okay? Anyway, today's story time is a crazy one, an interesting one, a wild one that, I hope no one ever has to experience themselves, because I feel like for a young kid like me at the time, I was too young to be experiencing this. Yeah, definitely not like any other stories on this channel. Definitely unique, so I hope you enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do, and let's get into it. So today's story time all starts off back when I was 9 years old. Yeah, this was a very long time ago. I was very young in this story. The only reason I really remember this was because of how insane it was. I don't remember a lot of stuff from being 9 years old. I remember really liking rock music. I remember that. Not much has changed there. I remember my mom wouldn't let me watch South Park. I remember the friends I had back then, but not a lot of like specific stuff, I don't remember a lot of specific instances, but this I do remember very vividly. So I had this friend back in the day, right? When I was 9 years old. We'll call him Matthew, okay? Matthew was my best friend at the time. And I hung out with him every day, pretty much. Like at school, I was always sitting next to him. At lunch, I was sitting next to him. On summer vacation, we were hanging out every other day. We were always hanging out, right? Sleeping over at each other's houses, stuff like that. Now, Matthew's mom, she was really cool. Like, really nice lady, good person. I always loved going over to his house to spend the night because she was always just super cool, very chill mom. She didn't let us do whatever we wanted, but she was very, not strict, you know what I mean? She was also a lot younger than your average parent. She had Matthew pretty young. I think she had him when she was 16 or 17. So she was only in her mid to late 20s at the time, which was kind of unlike other parents that I knew, just because she was so young. It didn't really affect how she was. I mean, she was still just your average mom, she was a good mom. But there was one thing that it kind of did affect, I feel like. Every guy she dated was kind of a dickhead. Now, I'm not saying people in their 20s are all dickheads, but I feel like, you have a higher chance of getting somebody that's immature if they're in their 20s, especially if they're going to be a step parent versus someone in their 30s and 40s, right? So yeah, she'd always date these guys and they'd be in their 20s, same age as her, and they'd be kind of assholes to Matthew because they were not really experienced with raising a child and they didn't really know how to talk to kids and stuff because they were just also so young themselves. So he'd get these people that were trying super hard to be a father figure but didn't know how to be, and they'd just be dicks to him and too controlling and too strict and just didn't know what they were doing. And around this time when this story time takes place, there was a new guy in the picture. Matthew's mom just started dating this guy. We'll call him Harry, okay? She was dating this guy named Harry. And I remember it was summer vacation. I was 9 years old, and Matthew invited me over to spend the night. Now, like I said, Matthew was my boy, my closest friend. Of course, I was down for that. So I said, for sure, let me go ask my mom. I went and asked my mom. She told me it was fine to go pack my stuff. And within an hour, I was in the car on the way to Matthew's house, ready to spend the night, right? Now, I get there, and I walk in, and Matthew's mom's making dinner, and I see this guy sitting at the table. And I'd never met him before. And Matthew comes up to me and he's like, oh yeah, that's Harry. He's staying with my mom now. They're dating or something. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, is he cool? And he's like, yeah, he's all right. And I'm like, all right. So anyway, my mom helps me bring my stuff in. She says hi to Matthew's mom. They talk for a little bit. Before I know it, my mom's leaving, telling me to have a good time. And I go and I have dinner with Matthew and his mom and her new boyfriend, right? Now, upon sitting down for dinner with this, family, I smelled something. It smelled like skunk and weed smell. You're probably like, Austin, how'd you know what that smelled like at 9 years old? Well, I wasn't blowing down blunts at 9 years old, but I had brothers that were older. I had older brothers, so they smoked weed sometimes, and sometimes I'd walk outside to them doing it, and I'd smell it, and I knew oh, that's weed. So, I knew the smell. So I smelled it, and I was like, oh, okay, Matthew's mom's new boyfriend, Harry, he must be a little stoned right now. I didn't think much of it. I didn't judge him for it. I just thought it was kind of funny. I was like, oh, he's got the munchies. He's at the dinner table. He looks a little stoned. It's funny, right? Well, little did I know, I was about to learn very soon that Harry was not just a weed smoker, and there was a lot more to him. So fast forward a few hours later, me and Matthew are in the basement at his house. We're playing Halo split screen in the basement, just enjoying ourselves, playing some 360. And Matthew's mom and her boyfriend, Harry, are upstairs in their bedroom going to sleep, right? They're probably about to be asleep any minute. And like, I was just curious. So I look over at Matthew and I was like, yo, so your mom's new boyfriend, Harry. He's like, yeah. I was like, what does he do for a living? And Matthew's like, I don't really know. My mom told me he worked at some office or something. Not really sure what he does there. But yeah, he's doing that. And I was like, yeah, what do you think about him? Is he cool? Because like, I knew like the previous few boyfriends she had were kind of dickheads to him. So I wanted to see how he felt about this new one. And Matthew was like, honestly, yeah, he's pretty cool. Like, he doesn't overstep. He's like, you know, pretty like chill. He knows who he is. He doesn't like try and act like my stepdad or anything. I like him. And I was like, that's good, man. That's really good. Like, given the past few people that you've had to deal with, I feel like that's a good change. And he's like, yeah, he's cool. And after that, we go back to playing a game, right? We're playing Halo split screen, 1v1ing. And I'm getting my ass kicked, okay? You're probably wondering, Austin, how is this important to the story? Oh, it is. You'll learn real quick why this 1v1 was so important. So I'm getting my ass kicked, and then I start kicking his ass a little bit. And then he starts coming back and kicking my ass, and before I know it, I'm about to lose the game. Now listen, I like to consider myself a pretty good sport in most situations, but when it comes to like a 1v1, I get salty, okay? And I lost the 1v1. And instead of looking at each other and being like, oh, GG, I looked at him and he looked at me and I was like, man, fuck you. And he's like, dude, you're shit. And I grab a pillow off of the couch behind us and I throw it at him. And he goes to block it by like hitting it up. He hits it upwards towards the ceiling and the pillow flies up. And it's a big pillow and it's going full speed. And it smashes one of the panels on the basement ceiling, like one of the foam panels, and knocks it out of the ceiling. And this foam panel, or like this ceiling panel or whatever, comes flying down, and something comes flying down with it that was hidden in the ceiling. I see this giant bag of white powder come flying down with the ceiling tile and the pillow, and they all land on the ground right in front of me and Matthew, and we're just kind of looking at it and then looking at each other. And at first, I thought it was like a bag of cereal or some shit. Because like it was in one of those like clear bags. And it was like the same kind of shape as a cereal bag. And it kind of looked like cereal from a distance. But then when I like really looked at it, it was not cereal. It was fine white powder. And I had seen enough movies at that point to know what it probably was. It was drugs. Now, given the appearance of what it looked like, it was very fine white powder. If I had to guess what it was probably that stuff that has the same name as a very popular soda company, rhymes with Stoke, if you know what I'm saying. I'd just say it, but I feel like I'd get demonetized, so I'm going to play it safe. Anyway, me and Matthew look at this stuff for like a few seconds, and then we look back at each other, and I look at him and I was like, yo, is that what I think it is? And he goes, I don't know. And he goes to touch it. And I was like, dude, don't touch it. Just don't. Because like even back then, man, like you never know. I didn't want him to like put his hands on this shit and get it on his hands and then maybe touch his face or something and get like that stuff in his system. I didn't know how it worked, but I didn't want to, take any risks. So I didn't touch it. Neither did he. We both just kind of stared at it. But like we also didn't want to leave it on the basement floor where like his dog could get it or like someone might step on it. We didn't want to like leave it there, right? Now, obviously, the right thing in this situation to do is go tell your parents, and I knew that was the right thing to do, but it wasn't my parents, and it wasn't my situation, so I kind of just, like, left it up to Matthew. I was like, dude, whatever you think is right, like, I'll go along with. And he goes, all right, man, I'm going to tell my mom about it. And I was like, okay, that's fair. And we also didn't know whose it was, by the way. Like, we didn't know if it was her boyfriend's, if it was hers, if it was a friend's. We didn't know, right? So we didn't know, like, how his mom was going to react. So he goes upstairs, he gets his mom, she comes downstairs, she sees it on the ground, and her face goes from like tired and kind of like confused to like immediately shocked and like upset. She clearly had no idea this shit was in her ceiling in the basement, right? And I kind of put two and two together really fast. It was probably Harry's, her new boyfriend, and she definitely had no idea it was up there, right? And he probably had a whole career that she didn't know about. Probably sold drugs. So she ends up calling my mom and getting me picked up because she didn't want me to be there for whatever was going to happen next, I'm assuming. And my mom came and picked me up, and I wished Matthew and her the best, and I went home that night. Now, I was just like super confused and like wondering what was happening. Like that whole night, I just kept thinking like, yo, like what's going on at Matthew's house? Like, did they call the police? Did like she kick him out? Did she just put it back in the ceiling and she's not going to say anything? Like, I was so confused and so curious. And I remember texting Matthew being like, yo, keep me posted. And he didn't text me back. And the next morning rolled around and I woke up at like 11 a.m. to my phone ringing, and it was Matt, and I answered it and I was like, yo, Matthew, like, what's good, dude? Like, what's going on? He's like, yo, man, sorry I didn't call you last night. Like, my phone died, and like by the time I went to charge it, I just fell asleep. And I was like, you're all good, man. Like, what happened? Like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, man, I'm fine. Harry's not. And I was like, what do you mean Harry's not? Like, what happened? So I guess after I got picked up by my mom, she called the cops. Matt's mom, she called the cops on her boyfriend, Harry. And they showed up and like interviewed him and talked to him. And like, he told the truth. He said that he was hiding it in her ceiling without telling her. And he essentially admitted to being a pretty large-scale drug dealer, and he got arrested, dude. Like, not just arrested, bro. Like, he got arrested and he got some serious fucking charges. He got put away for fucking years, dude. Like, years. Because they didn't only find that one bag. They found even more in his car, and they found even more at his house. He had like a house that he owned that like he rented out to people, and he was like stashing stuff in the garage there. They found stuff there. And it was a lot, man. It was like, even the one bag that we found was enough to throw you in jail for a long time. I can only imagine all the other ones, dude. Like, it was not good. So anyway, yeah, he went to jail because he was literally a pretty large-scale dealer and was lying to Matt's mom, using her ceiling downstairs as a storage unit for drugs, and was hiding him in other places. And, you know, like, I couldn't believe the whole situation. Anyway, it doesn't end there. So that morning, after I talked to Matthew and we get off the phone, he came over. Yeah, his mom came over and like brought him with her, and they hung out for a little bit, and his mom essentially just apologized to us, me and my mom, and basically said, you know, I had no idea that he was up to that kind of stuff. I thought he worked a regular job and like that was it. I didn't know he was doing this stuff on the side. I did not mean to put Austin in danger, that kind of stuff, right? And my mom was like, no, it's okay. Like, you didn't know. It's okay. Don't worry. Like, basically just told her, don't sweat it, right? And that she did the right thing by calling the cops. And they ended up taking us to Toys R Us. Yeah, at 9 years old, they took us to Toys R Us and bought us both any toy we wanted because we essentially busted this guy. Like, because I threw a pillow at him and knocked it out of the ceiling and just, you know, essentially discovered this guy's secret. Anyway, it was a wild situation, and I don't think anyone at that age should ever have to deal with that. But yeah, that's like pretty much the end of the story. Matt's mom actually ended up finding a really cool boyfriend like a year later, and they got married, and he was one of the coolest people I've ever met, and they're still together. So I'm happy to announce that they had a happy ending, and Matt's doing well to this day. He's still my friend. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.
I was stepping out at 4 a.m. cause I couldn't take every thought up in my head and all the words from you snakes. Said I'm coming back for everything on my brother's grave. Keep on sending all those shots while I aim for the brain. Yeah, tell him what's up.